In the end of May, it has been officially 6 months that I've been working in an FBA aggregator. So I want to tell you everything about my experience because I would also be curious if I would be on the outside, but I want to start out by making a disclaimer. This is my job. It is something that is very important to me. It is very personal. I cannot give specifics on the company, of course, and I also do not represent the company in this video. I will not even tell you the name of the company that I work for. It doesn't matter. Also because this is just my personal perspective, managing my Amazon FBA business by myself versus working in a kind of a similar position, but for a bigger company. That is all. Alright, so then let's dig into it. I just want to start out by telling you what is an Amazon FBA aggregator in case someone is confused or a little bit lost, never heard of such a thing. An FBA aggregator, as it is generally spoken about the mainstream, is essentially a business or a holding that buys different Amazon FBA businesses or different e-commerce businesses whose presence or revenue comes mainly from Amazon. Companies, these holdings, buy these different businesses, integrate them into one structure, and then operate them. And the promise behind this business model is that this holding will be the better owner of the business. That is due to having a highly specialized team. All of the members of the company know everything or know a lot about e-commerce, having a scale effect, so having advantages when it comes to negotiations and also economies of scale in all sorts of different topics and parts of the supply chain, of course. And of course, also a good access to capital, especially in the start, which all of these three things that I mentioned, so having specialized teams or having the know-how, having an ability to negotiate close to suppliers and other elements of the supply chain, and having access to capital are usually the biggest constraints of individual sellers. So the aggregator kind of comes in and has all of those things, therefore has the ability to scale its businesses much faster, also starting from day zero already with a positive revenue and positive EBITDA, because of course it only acquires profitable, successful businesses. Now I would like to tell you, of course, about my role and what the last 6 months in this company have been like. I was approached to join this company in November of 2021. Everything happened very fast, and because I was not working for another company, I was self-employed at the time, I was able to make the decision very quickly, and I joined the company in December 2021. At that moment, I started my extremely busy journey that I experienced in the last 6 months of having a very demanding full-time job in a hyper-growth startup, managing 2 YouTube channels and some other things attached to them. Of course, managing my own Amazon FBA business on the side. All of that while moving to a new city. It is fair to say that I was busy and that those were challenging times. Today I want to tell you about MagicMind, which is a productivity drink that I've been trying lately, now that I'm so busy and that I need all of the help I can get in order to stay motivated and stay focused and keep working on all of the projects that I am working on. They gifted this to me and I decided to give it a shot. What it is, basically, it's a drink that you can take as a shot, or you can do a matcha latte with it. You can sip throughout the morning or however you prefer. And the main ingredients in it are matcha, adaptogens, nootropics, and honey. And if you Google all of it, you'll find out that all of these ingredients are actually very good to just keep you productive. So this drink is designed to keep you aware, keep you focused, keep you productive, just as coffee typically or usually we assume it does, but it doesn't give you the caffeine crash that coffee typically does. So if you have a lot on your plate and you need more energy, more productivity, this is a good alternative to drinking 6 cups of coffee a day. That comes with, of course, a lot of bad consequences for your health. So I'm trying it these days and I like to take it as a shot in the morning. Usually if I have my coffee at home, I have my coffee at home and then I take this when I get to the office. Or if I have my coffee in the office, then I take this one before I leave the house in the morning. And it is meant to give you up to 8 hours of a productive, constant state of flow. The thing about it is that the ingredients compound over time. So they say that on the first day that you take it, you're supposed to feel up to 50% of the effects. Second day, 75% of the effects. And from the third day onwards, you feel 100% of the effects. I've been taking it for a few days now and I really like it. I'll keep you updated on my journey on my next couple of videos and tell you how it has been. If you are curious and you also want to add something to your morning coffee or maybe replace it altogether, then you can use my link down below and also the coupon code Sofia20 for 20% off your purchase. So we established that I was busy, and yeah, busy was an understatement. But what exactly was and is my job? So essentially, I do for my employer pretty much exactly what I did and what I did before for my own business. My job is to manage some of the brands that the company acquires and to make sure that after the acquisition that the brands stay selling in a healthy level and that they meet or surpass the growth goals that were established for them. And this involves a lot of different things that I'm sure you are familiar with if you manage your own brand or if you are looking into the topic. So of course, the biggest part, I would say the most important part, is inventory management. That includes looking very closely at how much inventory you have, how much you are selling each day, doing inventory forecasts, placing new purchase orders, basically making sure that you're in stock and that you are managing your stock and your working capital in the best, most optimal way for the business. Along with that comes, of course, pricing management, which takes into account how much inventory you have and also the demand that's always fluctuating week to week. So you manage your price in order to achieve the maximum revenue and also the maximum profit possible. And those two aspects, inventory and pricing, have to be very closely coordinated also with the PPC efforts. Besides that, we also need to coordinate new product development, SKU expansion. Most of the brands are not yet operating in all of the different marketplaces that they could be and that it would make sense for them to operate in. And of course, direct-to-consumer launch. Basically what I do the same things that I was doing before for my brands. Now, the main difference that I can say is that versus managing a business, an e-commerce or an FBA business by myself, is that I have support. I have different teams that help me do all of these things. So none of what I said so far is kind of new, but this is new information. Basically, I have different operational teams that help take part of this operational hassle from my plate so I can split the work and kind of focus on the core, let's say, marketplace part of it or marketing part of the job. So what that looks like is that I have logistics, team support, supply chain management, inventory management, PC and marketing support, FBA to do a lot of the repetitive tasks, product development team that helps me ideate, helps me source, helps me do all of it. Basically help in all the different facets of the job and also specialized help. So for example, in my own business, a big topic that I don't particularly like to deal with is customs and freight forwarders. All of the logistics topics, they are really stressful for me, and in my company, I do not need to deal with that directly. I can coordinate with them. I tell them what I need, what type of goods are coming, when are they ready, and they do the whole thing for me. So they are specialized, and that's a very, very great help. And also that's their full-time job, so I don't need to take time off my other tasks to do that, which leaves more brain capacity for me to focus on actually growing the brands. And besides that being a great specialized help that will most likely result in a better outcome, it's also needed because yes, these are all individual brands, and the way it works in my company is that I have, let's say, the full management of a couple of brands. This is also a big organization that owns a lot of brands. Therefore, there are a lot of things that need to be managed centrally. There needs to be a central strategy, a central push for certain initiatives. The coordination of the synergetic resources needs to be done in order to really achieve the promise of and the purpose of having the aggregation in the first place, right? So these support teams are helpful, but they're also needed. But on the other hand, I also have to say that versus managing my own brand, it also makes it a lot harder to manage a brand. And this is my personal input and observation. So not having the control of all of the pieces makes it that there are so many moving parts at different times. There's also a lot of changing processes at all times, just as it is typical of a startup in an hyper-growth phase. A lot of the pieces are not really in your control, and they are done in a much bigger scale, which can cause them to be slower at times. Slower than it would be for you to simply do it for your brand, or slower because you have less visibility and maybe it's not as effective. And I mean, for this, I can give an example. Let's say in my own personal brand, if I have to pay an invoice, I open my banking and I pay the invoice, right? If there's an organization behind you, of course you need to have, first of all, permissions to pay such an invoice, and then it needs to go through different departments until it is in fact paid. Naturally, it's going to make it harder, even if it is also, in theory, a much better solution that gives you better likelihoods of success. Now, with this setting, what did I get? I can say that after 6 months being in this company, I can say that I got out of it a very great and complete, challenging but amazing professional experience. On the one hand, I was able to get a lot of responsibility and also have the need to drive initiatives by myself, because in my company we are given brands and these are our brands. No one else is looking at them the way we are. No one else knows the daily operations and is actually pushing the buttons the way we are. So on the one hand, I have that, while also having the experience of being inside a hyper-growth startup. So having to navigate, work around, and also thrive in a very crazy organization. Also a company reality that doesn't adapt to your brand, but rather to some other vision that is behind everything, versus what would happen in my own personal brand, right? Something else that is really cool is that me personally, I had the opportunity to, and have still the opportunity to, work with the seller of my brand. This is the person who actually built the brand one of the brands that I manage now, and sold it to my company. So this is a brilliant e-commerce entrepreneur. It is very cool, as you can imagine, to have the opportunity to, talk to him, WhatsApp him every time I want, every time I have a question, want some advice. He gives me advice, he helps me he still has access to the back end. So it is an invaluable source of knowledge and source of, experience, mentorship that I have just from being a part and from doing my job. Finally, something else that I want to point out is the people that I met there. Because in this company, I met some of the best, most brilliant, most interesting, motivated, and just really the go-getters, right? The pure entrepreneurs of the world. I really met some really people that inspired me a lot to do even more. It's just very exciting to meet people that think the same way I do and that are trying to build things, and just very excited about the idea of actually doing something exceptional in the world, I guess. And with having that said, I actually would like to finish this video with a little bit of a Q&A. Question number 1, is there anything, like any magic formula that these companies have that individual sellers don't? And what he meant, it's pretty much like, a secret strategy, a secret, how to step to, making sure that whatever you launch works in e-commerce. And the disappointing answer is no. Everything that I've shared on my channel before is pretty much what I do still. It's pretty much the right way to do things. The main advice I have now that I've seen it on a bigger scale than my own personal business is still to manage your FBA business, your e-commerce business, like any business. It's all about numbers, it's all about your revenue, your profit margin. If you can sell for a higher price without compromising the quantity that you are selling, if you can somehow decrease your costs, then that's what's going to make you successful. But that's what we already know, right? These companies may have the upper hand because they have very specialized teams whose whole job is to learn about one function and become very good at them. They also are able to bring very experienced, brilliant individuals in their specific function, very driven people, and also access to capital that individual sellers don't, and therefore cannot grow as fast typically. And that is in itself magical, I think, or special. But it is not a special strategy or method or, step-by-step guides that I can tell you for you to take home and implement in your own business. Question number 2 is, what does my day-to-day look like? I would say every day is different, but there are some things that I need to do or to take care of every day. The main thing is inventory. I need to know where my inventory is at in every single day. The inventory is the central part of the business. Afterwards, after the sustainability of the business is ensured, my second focus is always on growth initiatives, whether that is new products or geo expansion or D2C or whatever I'm working on. I would say this is the general work of someone who does my job, just like it should be, or just like it was when I was managing my own brands. Third and final question that I have for today is that someone mentioned that there are news that the aggregators are struggling. And yeah, what is my experience with it, or what do I think about it? What did I see? What I see, and this is not only in my company, I'm talking about all of my friends. The majority of my friends work in startups, and some startups that were like had crazy valuations in also a crazy amount of time. So this is also not just my experience. What I see, what I gather from my friends' experiences as well, is that all the market is changing and all of the startups are seeing something change in a bigger, on a smaller scale and level. But all of them, I think, are just really taking their time, assessing the situation, being careful, making sure they privilege not only growth potential, but also profitability, also in the short run. This is what I see overall. I think it's a very interesting time to work in a startup because you get to experience this. Now, having that said, in my reality, with my brands, my colleagues, I did not experience or feel anything different. So maybe I am lucky, or I don't know, I just did not experience or see the effects, the consequences of this phenomena. So from what I stand, everything is fine. If you have more specific questions about this topic, about my experience doing Amazon FBA on a bigger scale, on a more professional way, then make sure to leave them down below because I can make a follow-up video on this one. Yeah, let's see what the next 6 months bring me. Thank you so much for watching, and we see us next time for another one.